Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin. Monday, October 2nd, 2017. It's probably around 9:15 or so a.m. and I'm almost at work and I'm starting this video late really, considering this nearly 20-minute stretch of my walk. I'm most of the way done, but here I am. I thought I'd capture a few thoughts of the moment, which is a fairly big function of this video, just capturing sort of the texture of life as the weeks and the months and the years roll forward. I've been YouTubing a while now, actually. I can't say I'm one of the originals, but my first uploaded video as part of my moving to New York City and becoming a part of Connors Communications, where I created Hittail, was 2006, 2007, thereabouts. I was producing some videos to promote Hittail. So I'm at least 10 years on YouTube, because I've kept my same consistent personal channel all that time. And I don't break off these separate channels each time that I know I can and maybe should. Each time I go on one of these sort of fad moves, like either recording myself with desktop screencasting software like ScreenFlow, while I'm using Vim, the text editor, which many techs and geeks and aspiring nerds aspire to. And Vim is one of those rites of passage. You will find much nerd anger amongst those who have never taken the plunge into Vim, who secretly covet the wizardly seeming abilities of a Vim user, and they put it down emphatically in favor of real IDEs or real text editors like PyCharm or Sublime, respectively. But you know, for every follower of PyCharm and Sublime, you know, I would say such things as, you know, Visual Studio Xcode, you know, vendor lock-in by one name is the same as another. You create your dependency chains. You make your entire future, your career, your relevancy to the problems at hand tied to the platform you're using. And where you spend time editing text files is fundamental. You should be able to think in text files. Literacy in the information age means being able to think text files into different arrangements. One long text file for life should be a no-brainer, a non-issue. You should know exactly how to do that. You would probably create a repo in GitHub or Bitbucket, because for your private day-to-day thoughts, you probably are going to want a private repo. And you're never going to put anything in there that you would be terribly upset with leaking, because they are, after all, GitHub and Bitbucket. They do and they will leak, and if anyone really cares about your private journals, could be dumped out there one day. So keep that in mind. But aside from the hack concern, you can have one text file for life, and that can be your personal blogging software. You need nothing more. One repo in GitHub, one text file, the kind of control of Vim. You certainly don't need mastery. Maybe a macro or two to help you sort of enforce a certain blogging style, where you insert a timestamp and maybe some horizontal rules to separate days, whatever. But one text file for life is like technology agnostic. You can't get away from text files. If you want something even more fundamental to tech than Unix and Linux themselves, more fundamental to tech than JavaScript and web development, just look at text files. Everything is done and defined and managed by text files. there have to be some definitions of what that text file is, like, encoding, because otherwise it's just a bunch of bits that doesn't necessarily make sense to a computer. So the computer needs to know what encoding so it can translate those bits on some medium into meaningful instructions, meaningful symbols and glyphs. In other words, the text file. So Linux is really just a bunch of source code that gets compiled for particular hardware to become something that's no longer a text file but came from a text file. Before it was compiled for that hardware, all the source code was text files. So even Unix and Linux and every other operating system, and really even every language, every driver, at some basic level, there's a bunch of text files somewhere storing all that code as source, pre-compiled. And the process by which certain things get compiled and become part of the operating system and get arranged on hard drives in relation to other files that are sitting around there that control the order in which things start up, their priority. So, Linux has all this control over the startup and shutdown procedures so that everything that needs to happen gets done both on starting up the system, shutting down the system, and with things like systemd to sort of oversee tasks running, generally while the system is running as well. So all you need to do is be able to control a bunch of text in a bunch of places, and you control modern automation. On almost every level, it's just text files. Particular runtime environments and languages and text encodings and other variables are changed such that it gets mixed into an embedded system or a full graphic user interface desktop environment or some custom thing for an Apple device. And that's all it is. That's all it is. So one of the best things you can do for yourself is just generally control text files and be able to do it just as if you were thinking text files into existence, into certain formats, transforming them to from one shape to another. And that generally involves, the use of Vim. There's a few other tools you can throw in there, like SED, the stream editor that's built into every Unix and Linux distro. Of course, there's all kinds of text file manipulations you can do from within Python, so Python is always relevant. And one of the concepts you do here to just be a total master of your own tech destiny is make sure you control the runtime environment, the startup procedure, the boot process, the machine it results in being. Is it a server? Is it some sort of distributed client hooked to sensors? Is it something in a robot? There's unlimited context in which your Python can run. I happen to have some particular context. My context is daily on a reliable basis according to a particular schedule, ensuring that a certain number of things have been done. Mine is data automation. How much cooler could it be? That really puts me at the heart of the mechanics of data science. I will never claim to be a data scientist. It's not my thing, even though machine learning and all kinds of stuff like that are my next career step. How can it not be? How can I not start to live in the fringes of the lands they call data science as a next generation search engine optimizer? I hope to leave the SEO moniker behind me someday because it's a little bit yucky, a little bit tainted. And I'm not sure exactly where I hang my hat, but I think it's something like Datamaster, right? Because there was, Webmaster once upon a time. I was that. I made my transition from the print industry. I started out in graphic design. Actually, I started out in mechanical engineering at Drexel University, wanting to build moon colonies. And then realized that, calculus, physics, and I was shaken out year one, just as anyone who is not really intended to be an engineer is shaken out, as those in law and medicine are shaken out in their respective fields, because you can't get people in those fields that generally are not inclined to the real foundations and patterns of thinking necessary so that people don't die, right? There's a bunch, or get sent to prison wrongly. There's a bunch of places where we have very low tolerance for mistakes, rightfully. Systems that have to be 24/7 reliable. You want a certain kind of person in that field. Does that mean the rest of us don't qualify to be scientists and engineers and physicists and the people really pushing the edge of what it means to be human? What's down at Planck's constant scale and what's up at the universe loops around itself to come back scale. No, that's within the realm of the everyday Joe who can imagine. There is always a popularist versus elitist conflict. Sci-fi authors like Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov are put down regularly as mental candy, popularist, not very solid science foundation of science fiction writers. And I'm like, the topics and the way that Asimov explored his things and Clarke explored his things brilliantly, respectively, pioneering and bringing concepts of space elevators and the evolution of robots to the mainstream in a way that it still resonates today as true. And what were the computers of Asimov's day? They were the size of rooms, if they even existed. But yeah, I think he was certainly, I remember Asimov dying, so he was around to see even the home computer come onto the scene. But, people love to say, oh, see how wrong Asimov was, and I'm like, wait a minute. I think it's actually the exact opposite. We haven't even seen computers go neural network yet. That's this generation's miracle to watch. The way we saw supercomputers get into our pockets, my kid's gonna see them grow up and become companions here on Earth. Things that will outlive you, but are not, necessarily human themselves. We're gonna raise a few aliens here on Earth. Alien contact is imminent. We're gonna be designing it ourselves, and if we don't, we'll at least be convinced we are, because Turing test passing is passing. If it can convince you that it is sentient, then is it not sentient? That is in my child's future, and even probably my lifetime for sure, so long as there's no filter event impending. Let's get a few of these thoughts down. Let's document this stuff. Let's let it guide me in my day-to-day development and refinement of my Python skills. See, this is where it all loops around and becomes circular. I'm here to become fluent in Python. I will be a master of old school SEO and the next generation of thing it's becoming that's certainly tied to fill in your buzzword, machine learning, data science, predictive analytics. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. But no matter how you label it, it comes up running things in batch mode more frequently, getting those batch mode processes and the intelligence behind it refined, switching your batch processes to more of a real-time mode, and then get the excess capacity so that you can look ahead and anticipate things. And the faster you can go through that cycle of tightening up your iteration loop on your next whatever it is, reports you're running, monitoring of some system, the more quickly your systems will evolve, and the better you will be able to apply those new techniques that are becoming at your Keras disposal. Google it, Keras, I believe, on systems that are inherently portable, potentially in the cloud transient, potentially on your own hardware personal cloud. lots of ways to slice and dice this stuff. Things will end up running little machine learning processes on mobile robots, right? So a lot of interesting projects to come. This is the kind of stuff I'm going to cover with my daughter. Time to get upstairs because the day has begun. Tick tock, tick tock.